Hi, this is Debz Cooper, currently in Ngāwahia, which is near Hamilton Base in the North Island. And you will see I'm outside. This is the best place that has the greatest coverage for me right now. So we're outside. You are going to get possibly distracted by the birds that have created a nest near me and my wind blowing. But let's focus on the content today. Yes, as I see my hair blowing, just try and contain that so my OCD doesn't get in the way. But today I have to talk about being number one, how you're number one, and putting yourself ahead of others and saying no, which is actually quite funny because I'm currently sitting in a place trying to put you ahead of myself, trying to put myself ahead of you, you ahead of me. It's not really working, and so far the birds are chirping in the background and putting themselves ahead of me right now. So fingers crossed you can actually hear this. But we'll give it a go. If it doesn't work, then I don't know, Alicia, my little lovely lady, will be able to fix something. So here goes. So what does actually putting yourself ahead of others mean to you and to others and being number one? So the key here is actually not to be a-hole with birds. Seriously, they just come from nowhere. Okay, back in the zone. It's to not be an a-hole when you actually are number one. Now, I know I'm somebody who I used to say to my family, I'm selfless, and they'd say, no, you're selfish. And I go, no, it's selfless, until I actually learnt the word properly and realized, no, clearly I am selfish. The more older I've got, the more I make decisions that are wisest for me. And I think that's the main key we've got here. So not being, hi Jane, we've got someone from the UK, that's very exciting, thank you, hi. So when I talk about being an a-hole, I'm talking about not respecting the other person for them coming to you, or you doing things for them, or you doing things for yourself. So it's just in how you manage what goes on in your world. You know, when you get on a plane and they say put your own oxygen mask on first and put your children's last. Now there's a reason for that, clearly. Well, there's multiple reasons, but one of the reasons I get is because you're actually important. You're the one, because if you're not functioning and you're not feeding and nourishing your body, and you're not 100% okay yourself, how can you actually serve others? And when I say serve others, that's being a parent, at work, talking to a friend, or even a shopkeeper, or anything. So it's not necessarily serve others in a business, but serve others in the way you communicate with people. So when we put our own oxygen mask on first, we're actually doing things for us. That is your first number one priority. Because you know, with children, if you're not well, and the children are, and I'm going to reference children because children are more needy. Well, I'm thinking children are more needy than partners. I don't know, it depends what type of relationship you're in. But with, and friends, and bosses, and exes, and parents of children, and the list carries on going on. But if we look at putting our own oxygen mask on first, we can actually function. Once we've got that on, we can start to breathe, and then we can tend to our children. So, or other people around us. Because if you're actually not doing that, and you're not nourishing what's important to you, you're not going to get ahead, and you're not going to be able to function in what you do. And you know, when you have, if you don't put your own oxygen mask on first, or if you don't say no to people and you don't say no to yourself, what can actually happen is you get into burnout mode. And burnout mode is when you're really down, your health can get on top of you, your mindset, you're not sleeping, maybe you eat junk food, maybe you don't eat junk food, maybe you drink more, maybe you do more toxic actions than non-toxic actions when you're in burnout mode. You feel obligated when people do things for you, that you do things back for them. So you feel obligated to do things for them. You get resentful. Now, I know when we get resentful, how it actually has a really large impact on us, but also a large impact on those around us, because even we go fine. And I remember there's a lovely lady who I know who's now in the North Island, who, when I said I'm fine to her many, many years ago, she said that means effed up insecure, neurotic, and emotional. And so now when I hear someone say they're fine, I go, oh, hang on, and I reference back to Donna's quote. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that, but when we actually say we're fine, sometimes we're not, and we just want to back people away. So we get really resentful because we don't want to express our feelings. And we become bitter, and we become bitter inside, which also doesn't nourish your soul, which doesn't keep you healthy and fulfill you in your role of what you're there to do. One of the other things is I find is fair exchange. You're out of fair exchange if you help somebody and they don't help you, or you help them and the other way, or you help them more, they don't help you, or you vice versa. And out of fair exchange means it's a win-win. So you want to get a win-win. So I help you, you help me. But one of the key things I'm going to talk about is actually having that return of that fair exchange. So just know people will always do things for the greatest win for them. Even though they may feel obligated, like I talk about, and they become resentful and things, they will always make decisions that are best for them at that moment. Now, when you have something happens to you, something chaotic happens to you, and you go, gosh, 2 days later you're like, gosh, why didn't I say that? Or why didn't I do that? So these are the things that are important to know. Is down the track you can rethink them, but at the moment they make that decision, they think that's the greatest win for them at that time. I know when people say things to me, would you like to do this? And I go, no. And then the shot comes in their face and they go, would you like to think about that? And I'm like, oh, that was a little bit harsh. And straight away, no, I don't. I'll go, yeah, let me think about that. No. So it's actually around taking that time as well. So let's talk about what actually happens to you when you have this. So when somebody comes to you and asks you to do something, the key is to respect that person for asking you to do it. They clearly think that you're skilled at that task and they know that you can do this, so that's why they've asked you. So respect them for asking. Acknowledge them for, number 2, acknowledge them for asking you to help them. Okay, that's really important to actually acknowledge them. Number 3, give time to make a decision. So you have to have all the information before you can make an informed decision. Like, how long is this going to take? When do you need it done by? Is there anybody else involved? Because there's nothing worse than actually doing something and maybe you don't like the other person and they've got 2 of you doing it together. So you don't want to be putting that conflict in. So it's really wise to look at what are the key questions you can ask to get all the information to make that informed decision. And then you can say to them something along the lines of, that's great, let me have a think about it. I've got to check my schedule, I've got to check my calendar, or I've got to talk to my partner, or I've just got a few things to work out. Let me come back to you. When can I come back to you by? Because if you say I'm going to come back to you tomorrow and they may want to know in the next 10 minutes, then your time frame is actually out of kilter. So unless you say to them, when do you want to know by, that's going to stop any issues in between as well. So make sure you get all the time to make that decision from the quality questions. When you say no to somebody, if you say no to somebody, what can you give instead of that saying no? So for me, one of the things I don't like doing is moving house. And if there's any friends on this Facebook Live or watching this later, you'll understand I'm now talking about an example. So my friends move and they go, oh, I'd love you to help me move. Now, they actually don't ask me now to help them move because I don't want to do it. I don't want to spend my time packing up the kitchen. Oh my God, I couldn't think of anything worse. I don't want to have judgment on that they're making me pack 30 pairs of shoes that are all exactly the same and they're worn out. I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to be doing that and putting myself in that situation. So when it comes to what can you do instead, I do things like, okay, great, I'll clean the house. When will you be out by? Because we know when we move houses, you have to clean the house. And I don't mind cleaning. Now, it's not that I actually don't like cleaning, but I don't mind it because it's exercise for me also. But I also have my music on or my podcast, and I can do things my way and I can have that done. And they know that that job's going to be done. And the truth is, no one actually really likes to clean a house when everybody's moved out. Like when you've moved, you want to go to your new place. So for me, that's my contribution to them. What can I give instead? I don't pack their house up where I'm going to be grumpy and moody and all the rest of it. I'd rather be there on my own or have a friend or something and we can clean the house together. And it doesn't take long. Of course, when there's no furniture around, it's really easy. In fact, it's way easier than with furniture around, less dusting. So that's what I give instead of them packing the house. So the question is, what can you give instead that is going to be of value to them? Okay, that's the key one. God, these little birds are cracking me up. The other thing is, be honest. If you don't want to do it, be really honest, because there's nothing worse than finding out from a friend that you've done something for them or they've done something for you, and then they're resentful. And they go, oh, you wouldn't believe this is what's happened to me. And they get grumpy and they get cranky, and it comes back to you. And now that's a waste of energy. So it's wise for you to be honest. And yes, potentially you may hurt their feelings, but it's also how you deliver it, how you deliver that message. Look, I really can't help you move house because I've got something else on, or I just don't have that time right now. But what I can do is I can go clean your house. So that's actually being honest. I've been honest and said I can't do it because I haven't got time. And you're not restricted to a time factor as well, because cleaning house we know you can do any time of the day or night. So I've given them an option of what I can do instead. Morning, Danny. Thanks for coming on the call. So just be honest to them. Now, it's not necessarily, when I go back to that very first thing I said, is don't be an a-hole, is don't go, sod that, F that, no frickin' way, I ain't doing that, nah, you can go to heck, blah, 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 blah. I'm not talking about that honesty. I'm just saying it doesn't work with me right now, because it doesn't. Your soul's not in alignment with that. So you're actually not telling a lie by saying it doesn't work for me right now. It's just I've got a few things on my plate I need to juggle. So just be honest along those lines. Don't be that a-hole. The other thing is, when giving, give with no expectation of a return. Now, I know I talked about fair exchange at the start. Come on, birds, just give me a little bit of time. Look, it's lovely to have birds, but come on, they could have just waited a little bit. Okay, this is me getting annoyed. And I've got my little dog beside me, and he's getting a little bit antsy too. So when I talk about when giving, give with no expectation. Don't say, okay, I'll clean your house and you can clean mine when I move, or you can do this, because that's not what it's about. It's when you work on fair exchange, there is a I give, you give, but there's actually a work from the heart. So when you give, you have no expectation that something's going to come back to you, but you just give freely. And that's the key here, is we give from our heart because we generally want to do it, or would love to do it, and it actually feels right to do it. So when giving, ensure that you're not going, okay, I'll do this for you and you do this for me. And then you can have things like 2 months later you've got, did you know, with Annabelle, I've done 5 things for her and she's never done anything for me. This is not keeping track. This is not keeping track. And any friendship, connection, business, this is not about who does more for somebody. It's about what sits right with you. Because when we talk about obligation and resentful, I talked about that earlier, this is what happens if you go, okay, I'm keeping an Excel sheet of every time I do something for so-and-so, and they've never given me anything back. You're really missing the point of what happens to give freely. Okay, so when others decline you, don't take it personally. They have a life also. So when others say to you, no, I can't do that, don't go, like I said, I've done 5 things for you this last week and you've done nothing for me. It's not about that. They may have something going on in their mind, in their life, whatever's going on for them. So don't take it personally. It just means right now, that doesn't suit. If somebody rings you, because I'm quite short with some of my text messages, if somebody messages me and I'm doing something, and I'll just reply straight back. And then, maybe the person comes back and goes, gosh, that was a bit harsh. Don't take it personally. It's just, you asked a question, here's the basic response. I'm not fluffing it up right now because I've got something else going on. So don't take this personally, and be aware that we all have lives, including yourself. Okay? So don't take it personally. And do what your heart says. If it feels right to say no, say no. If it feels right to say yes, say yes. If it feels right to say, let me sit on it, then sit on it. Decide what's best for you. So you have to do what's best for your calling and for your heart. Okay? It's really important to keep nourishing yourself and your soul. And that's the thing about being number one, because you truly are number one. I remember there's a friend of mine who we used to laugh about who was number one more, her or me. And it was actually about who was going to be number one. And we both at the same time quickly researched allaboutme.com, but somebody else had taken it. So it was a little bit about things like that. So just remember, you are number one, and that's the key thing throughout life. You will always be number one if you do this. In relationships, remember to nourish the other person. And when I say relationships, that's business, not just intimate. Remember to nourish the other person. Make sure you've got dynamics that everyone gets involved. I've come to an environment where I've got my little dog with me, who just had a little snippet at me, and we've introduced him to another dog. Now, it's actually about patting one and then patting the other, and both giving love to each one, so that they both feel wanted and needed and loved. So it's really important to get that along, and make sure that they both feel they're number one, but knowing that I am also number one as well. So that's me signing out. I'll just show you my little boy. Oh, don't think he wants to say hello. Here's my little boy. Oh, there's a little growl coming on from him. I think that's because I moved him. Whoops, but that's my little boy right beside me. It's a little bit cranky with me right now. I've just sort of show you the one that I'm showing a little bit of love. I think if I left him to be number one, he would have been number one lying there on my side. So thank you, everybody. If you've got any questions, let me know. I am just a message away. Next week, I'm talking about clearly something else. Thank you very much. And I'm number one just as much as you're number one when we talk. Thanks very much. Oh, yes, Emily, my little Ben. Yeah, that's the one. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great day. Enjoy. And I'm now off to my next adventure. See you later. Bye. Number one, here I come.